DJI status in the USA, July 22nd, 2025. Got that coming up next. Bill, the drone reviewer here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The other night, I hosted Rotor Talk Live and was joined by Mr. Ron Braun. We spent the better part of the evening discussing all the latest regarding DJI status in the USA, July 22nd, 2025. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. Ron just made the point that if this camera, the Osmo 360, is not available in the US, this will be the first DJI camera that's not been available in the United States. So, we're gonna start with that. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk about was, and I thought I had it posted up here.
Hey, but before you roll now, I see Captain Ray Kelly out there in the chat. I want to say congrats, Captain Ray. He had back surgery this morning. Apparently everything went well and he's at home now.
Well, that's good to hear, Ray. We're glad you're home as far as that's concerned. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about tonight. Okay. Now I had some chats with Vic Moss from Drone Advocacy Alliance, and great guy. Absolutely love him. And I wanted to share a couple of things. You know, I had some back and forth with him. He still said, you know, go ahead and, you know, fill these forms out. Okay. Now there's several things here, and I hope this will come up on the screen. Good. It is. Tell U.S. Congress complete the drone security analysis. U.S. support the Drone Act, and that's don't worry about that one. U.S. demand clarity from Customs and Border Protection. These are the ones that you should fill out here. Okay, this one where it says tell Congress complete the drone security analysis, and this one demand clarity from Customs and Border Protections. And when you get in there, it's going to ask you for your name, address, and phone number. And based on your zip code, it puts in your United States congressman and also your 2 United States senators. And there's a pre-filled out form there. There's already verbiage there about that, but there's a place for you to add your own in here. Okay. And what I can tell you, it's limited to about 1,000 characters because I was over 1,000. But what you want to do with something like that is you want to, and here's what I would suggest: use ChatGPT or maybe Grok or something to help you form something and put something together that's thoughtful. Saying, you know, you're a Part 107 SUAS pilot, you've been for X number of years, and you want to voice, you know, you think, you know, you've heard DJI has not had any security violations. Audits have shown that, and we would like to see proof of what you're talking about with this, and that this is going to cost thousands of jobs across the United States and cripple first responders, something along those lines. Okay.
Yes.
Now, one of the other things I want to say, and I had a little chat with Ron about this as well too. I know a lot of you are probably frustrated because, you know, you've done this and you're not seeing results. Okay. And I agree with you. You're not seeing results, but a lot of times, you know, you gotta go out there and still do this anyway. And I think this is one of these instances where you guys need to go out there and drop your comments on this. I would definitely do that. Don't even hesitate, because it gets your opinion out there before your congressman and before your United States senators. And they do look at numbers there. Okay. And that's one thing that's important, is not necessarily what the responses are, but they look at the number of people responding from things like that. So the more that we have responding, the better, as far as that's concerned. So again, you know, this is something that I really want to emphasize here. Now, I did talk to Vic as well too about the Section 232, and we're gonna I'm gonna get to, there's an article. Let's see if I have that up here. Okay. Yeah, I do. Okay. And Vic wrote a response to that. Let me go ahead and get this up here. Okay. A really scathing response. He kind of really blasted this whole thing here. And if you guys get a chance, read it. It is posted out on the group and the Facebook page. And one of the things that I can tell you, there is no proven correlation between ready-to-fly drones made outside the United States and national security. Until we have proof of any security connections between commercial and recreational use of non-domestic drones and national security, this is a concern in search for an actual issue. For the non-defense use cases, there is no ongoing connection between civilian use and national security. Bullet points, not at all, and they won't. We don't have the ability to get raw materials we need. We don't have the mechanical and computer engineers to design the drones, even if we had manufacturing capabilities. We don't have the venture capitalists willing to invest in factories to produce consumer and prosumer drones. Over 90% of all commercial and 100% of all recreational drones are made in part or whole outside the United States. Virtually every component for recreational FPV drones are made in China here, okay? We rely on Chinese companies. This is our own doing. We've been offshoring manufacturing for the last 5 decades. We can't wave a magic wand and make it all come back here, okay? Well, when you get it, I mean, this is a very lengthy response that Vic has right here, and this is to the Section 232 response. And I highly encourage you guys to do that. Vic put a lot of time and effort into this. So please, if you get a chance, get out there and take a look at this. I think it's really good here. Now, I went out there and I'm going to see if I'm trying to see if there's a link here, and I don't think I have that link. But I went out there and I actually filled.
If you find a link later on, you can post it in the Bill of the Drone Reviewer Facebook page.
Yeah, and I think I have it. You know what? I know where I do have it, and I think I'm going to bring it up because I want to share this with you guys. I think it's important here. One of the things that I was able to do was I actually filled out the form, and I want to kind of walk you guys through this because I think it's important here. Let me get to. There we go. Need to find the link here. Okay.
Hello, RJ Arrows.
And thank you for your patience with me here.
Want to say hello.
Okay.
Hello, CT Pirate.
And I should have had this up before, so my bad about that. Okay.
Drone.
Notice of request for public comments on Section 232 National Security Investigation of imports of unmanned aircraft systems and their parts and components. A notice by the Industry and Security Bureau on 7/16/2025 here, okay? And this tells you exactly what they're doing here. And right here, there's a section called public comments, all right? 103 comments have been received at regulations.gov, and one of those is mine right there, okay? And here's my comment listed right here. It actually has it listed here as well, too. Now, one of the things that they tell you, I'll click the submit a public comment here. All right, write a comment, commenter's checklist, public comments on federal regulations. Start typing here. You can attach files, video files, documents, whatever. Put your email address down here. So you're an individual, an organization, or anonymous here, okay? And I put down as an individual. I actually put my email address here and actually shared my comment. Now, if you're going to go out there and do this, one of the things that they do advise you, and I was real careful when I filled the form out, was not to include anything that would give away my identity in the comment section. For example, I have a show on Tuesday night called Rotor Talk Live, okay? I didn't say that. I said I have a popular weekly drone show seen by hundreds of people, okay? I didn't get specific with that. And, you know, I've been a SUAS pilot for X number of years. I didn't say X number of years. I've been a SUAS pilot for several years, okay? Don't be too specific when you're filling out this comment. That way people won't be able to have this come back to you. But I encourage you guys to go out there and fill this out, okay? And when you do, again, use something like ChatGPT or maybe Grok to help you form something out there. And I can tell you in exactly what I said. You know, I'm an SUAS pilot, you know, for X number of years. I have a weekly show on YouTube. And one of the things that I think all of us have been asking is to see this proof that DJI drones are a national security threat to the United States. And that basically, and then I also talked about how, we use drones for good, first responders. If DJI drones are taken away from us, it will cripple first responders. It will also cripple industry as well too, because as they're used in gas line inspections, cell phone tower inspections, power line inspections. My son-in-law uses it for in his business as well, underground utilities, on and on and on and on.
Roof inspections, real estate. There's so many applications that go to small businesses where small business could be just one or two people.
Exactly. And I also put
rely
in
on it.
there the fact, we also know, and I know Joe America here, he's asked me a couple of times about drones for veterans. And there are some programs, and we talked about it. I think last week I had an article from Drone DJ or DroneXL about getting drones for veterans and helping them find some purpose in adjusting back to civilian life. And that's one of the things that has been a real benefit. And I said, you take all these things away, what's going to happen with these veterans as well too. So, I asked your consideration. And I also mentioned in there too, the Booz Allen Hamilton, the Big 8 CPA firm that's worldwide known, did an audit and did not find any security issues with DJI. And I also mentioned in there too that this really kind of harkens back to the fact is somebody wants to take over this business in the United States, namely a company like Skydio. So that's kind of my thoughts. That's what I put out there. That's what I got out there. And I wanted to share this with you guys. The link is in the description for the video tonight. Please go out there, put something out there. There's only 103 responses out there. And this needs to be completed by August 6th. So the clock is running on something like this. And I think, you want to do what I just talked about earlier from the Drone Advocacy Alliance as well too. But you definitely want to get out there and fill this out. And you know what? I'm okay with saying who I am on something like this. All right. Because, my comment isn't going to come back to me. People are not going to do that, but it is on record with them and with the federal government. And I'm fine with that. Okay. I don't think anybody should have a problem or be fearful of something like that. So I would definitely encourage you to go out there as an individual. And I think if you're doing that as an individual, it's going to have more of an impact, than you post it anonymously. So that's why I want to head out there and do that. And I would strongly encourage you guys to do that. What are your thoughts on this, Ron?
I want to maybe a little clarification. Is 232 here? Is that the new thing that the Commerce Department, like the Commerce Department, jumped into all this recently, and they want they want a evaluation or a tear down of the drone or whatever, but they're coming from the aspect that is bad for American business, not necessarily spying. That they worry about how it affects the American drone industry. So to me, Bill, this is bad because now the drone can be banned on security issues or spying, and also it can be banned because it's a threat to the American economy because it hurts American drones. It's like just another agency coming at DJI from another direction. So to me, this isn't good at all.
No, it's not. And this was instigated, the Republican lawmakers said, let's get this going. We want this done. But it wasn't, and a lot of people were like, oh, this is good. No, put the brakes on here, as we talked about last week. This isn't good. Now, I'm going to go over an article that Russ put together. And this is from DroneXL. Russ from 51 Drones put out a video, a little bit of a dramatic thumbnail on here. Everything is fine. You see a nuclear explosion in the background. Okay. The United States government is conducting a security investigation into DJI and Autel drones to assess whether or not they impose a threat to national security. The outcome of this investigation seems predictable. It will likely align with government's objectives. Here's what this means for drone industry in the United States. All right. Security audit under the National Defense Authorization Act. Okay. If they pose a national security Comprehensive security audit of Chinese-made drones determined that they pose a national security risk. This audit must be completed by the end of 2025. If it isn't, these drones will automatically be added to the federal covered entity list, effectively banning them from interacting with U.S. infrastructure and communication networks. All right. As of July 15th, a new investigation has been launched under Section 232. While related to NDAA's directive, this investigation is distinct. Section 232 grants the U.S. Department of Commerce, the President, the authority to impose restrictions on certain imported goods without congressional approval. This means swift action, penalties, restrictions, or tariffs can be implemented if the findings justify it. Why this approach? A true security audit is unlikely to uncover evidence sufficient to halt the use of DJI drones in the U.S., as there may be little to reveal. Instead, the government is framing the issue as an economic threat. Section 232 focuses on economic national security, evaluating whether imports like drones harm U.S. industries critical to national defense or the economy. For example, in 2018, the Trump administration used Section 232 to impose 25% tariffs on steel and 10% on aluminum, boosting U.S. manufacturing jobs, but raising steel prices, which impacted downstream industries. Impact on the drone industry. Over 75% of drones used in the U.S. are Chinese-made, primarily by DJI, with Autel holding a small share. No significant American competitor exists in the consumer, prosumer, or enterprise drone markets. The core question is whether Chinese drone imports are stifling the growth of U.S. drone manufacturing sector. The Department of Commerce is likely to conclude that they are, aligning with the political and economic push for domestic innovation. Based on trends in other industries, here are the likely outcomes. Increased tariffs. Higher tariffs on Chinese drones will make DJI products more expensive, narrowing the price gap with emerging American alternatives. Federal incentives, tax breaks, and subsidies will likely be offered to U.S. drone manufacturers to encourage a competitive domestic economy. Expanded restrictions. New federal guidelines may prohibit Chinese-made drones in sensitive sectors like law enforcement, energy infrastructure, and emergency services, forcing agencies to seek alternatives. Long-term implications. These measures will drive a gradual decoupling from Chinese drone manufacturers through tariffs, incentives, procurement policies, and regulations. The shift will likely enjoy bipartisan support as it promotes national security and American jobs here. Challenges for recreational use in small businesses. For recreational drone users and small business operators in fields like real estate, photography, or filmmaking, this transition offers little immediate benefit. Domestic drone production will likely prioritize industrial, defense, and enterprise markets where government contracts and subsidies are concentrated. No one in Washington is focused on developing a $699 camera drone for hobbyists. While DJI drones will remain available, they'll come at a higher cost, which stings for users like us. A call to American innovators and looking ahead. For now, keep flying your DJI drones. They're still excellent and will continue to work. Take care of them, as upgrading to new models will be costly. Ultimately, this shift will benefit consumers by fostering competition and choice. Having the option to try American-made drone in the next year or two is exciting, even if it's hard to match DJI's quality. Options are good, and competition drives innovation. Okay, and I'm going to kind of stop there, all right? Now, there are some parts here Russ is trying to explain, and I get it, and I understand that here. But I think one of the things, Ron, is it's going to take, I would estimate, and some experts I've seen, and I think even Vic Moss has said, it's going to take a minimum of probably 4 to 5 years if there was a U.S. company to step in and to try to replicate what DJI has on a basic entry level. It's going to take that kind of time, all right?
No matter how much funding they get.
Exactly, okay? And as we talked about, maybe I think a couple of weeks ago, and as I mentioned on Drone Nation, China has plenty of raw materials out there. A lot of these raw materials, it's the only spot where these are found in the world. And a lot of these are used to help make the chips and a lot of the electronic components that go into electronics like drones, okay, circuit boards and so forth, silica gel, that kind of thing. I'm not all privy to all that, but what I'm saying is it's a lot of this is only found in one place in China. All right. So, this all has to get ramped up. This is all from scratch here. Okay. Because if you look at Skydio drones, a lot of their components are made in China. All right. I remember they had a problem with batteries, and the batteries, where are they coming from? China. So, there's really no true American company out there building American-made drones. All right. And we've said, and I think Ron would agree with me, and I think all of you would agree with me, is if we could buy a drone equivalent to or maybe better than a DJI drone made in America, we'd all be throwing our money at them. Okay. There wouldn't be any question about that. But there isn't. And for the foreseeable future, it's not going to be there. And the
Yeah.
article sounds, and I'm going to part ways with Russ on here. This is not around the horizon. This is not going to happen in the next year or two. Okay. It's going to be a good 4 or 5 years before we would see something like this. So when I rang the alarm bell last week and said the sky is falling and told you, I'm crying wolf here, to go out, get your batteries, get your props, continue to do so. Okay. I know Adorama has Air 3S batteries available. Their list price $245. I didn't there's slim pickings out on Amazon on a lot of things, but Adorama seemed to have a pretty good stock of batteries. So did B&H as well too. So if you're looking for OEM batteries for your DJI
I was
drones,
able to get an OEM battery for the Air 3S on Amazon for $185 about 2-3 weeks ago.
that's good. And see, Ron, you hit it at the right time, because I went out there last week to look and they're gone. You can't find them right now.
Yeah.
And the only place I could find it was Adorama at $245, which is list price. That's what's out on DJI's site right now. Now, if you go out to DJI, everything you see is out of stock. Okay. Not available. You go out there, no matter what drone you click, everything, it's just not there. And a lot of that is because of the inspections happening right now. So
back to the Russ's article and your point. Anything that comes early, Bill, 1 or 2 years through whatever in the first 5 years, if American drone companies truly do pop, the only thing that's going to come is the most expensive drones, enterprise level drones, things at the top, top price tier. And I agree with Russ. Even 5-10 years down the road, no American drone company has any intention to make a $699 consumer drone for the kind of drone most of our subscribers want.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. They're going to be focused and they're going to be geared toward first responders and military and maybe industry. Okay. They're not going to be geared
toward consumer. It'll be the highest end consumer. It'll be maybe for prototype consumers. It won't be for the mini drone budget crowd. I don't know why they don't, well, I mean, they probably figure this out on their own. Why don't you just seed the bottom of the market to the Chinese drones? Why anything under $1,000, just let the Chinese make it, because they have no intention of making it anyways.
Exactly. Okay. Like, even let's say like Air 3S and below. Just give it to them. Just let them do that, because these drones are not a national security threat. All right. There's just the whole point of that is moot. It's ridiculous. And no one has come back and said a word about that. And because there is nothing to say, because there is nothing as far as a national security threat. Okay. Are we going to see how big and tall Lucy is where Ron lives, or are we going to see how wide the Snake River Canyon is and how high it is from Marcus? Or am I going to show how many people are at the pool at my development on any given day? I mean, seriously here. This is what we're talking about.
We would bore the Chinese spy agency to tears with that type of video, right?
Yeah. And it's something real interesting today. I read, I subscribe to, it's called the Epic Times, and they put out news. It's not really conservative based, but it's independent. Okay. And they have independent journalists out there. And one of the articles talked about how YouTube has just deleted thousands and thousands of accounts. And a lot of those were Chinese out there putting out Chinese propaganda. All right. And Russian as well, too, putting out Russian propaganda. But they went out there and they've deleted probably 20,000 accounts in the last few months.
Wow.
All right. So, that's a very real concern. And we're glad to see them doing things like that, because if you're looking for a national security threat, it's not going to come from a drone. Okay. It's going to come from, I'm pointing over here to my laptop. All right. It's going to come from devices like that. It's going to come from your iPhone. It's going to come from my Android phone. These are where security threats are. Okay. It's not your drone. All right. As far as that's concerned. And, we've been round and round and round about this here, and we're going to continue to talk about it because it bears repeating here. And, and at the end of this 30 days, which is August the 6th, on as far as this Section 232 is concerned, it's pretty much going to be rubber stamped. And we kind of pretty much have a thought on what it's going to do. But, getting your voice out there, getting your opinion out there is still important. So I would highly encourage you to go out there and put something together. Use Grok, use ChatGPT. I used my own email address. I said I was an individual, not anonymous, because I think it's going to hold more weight. There's only 103 responses out there, guys. All right. And I know we can do better than that. All right. I really know it. And this is a call to action. All right. Because you don't know. It might actually go ahead and make a difference. All right. And I think one of the differences I think we might make is, like Ron was saying, maybe drones $1,000 or under, they might not have tariffs on them. All right. So say like an Air 3S, Mini 5 Pro, the Neo, the Flip, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that's under $1,000, they're not going to have tariffs on them. Okay. So that they would be affordable. All right. And things that are over $1,000, they'd probably have tariffs on, like a Mavic 4 Pro kind of a thing. Okay. So, maybe it might make a difference with this. All right. It might not stop this, the whole thing, but it might make a difference as far as being able to get them at a list price, at a normal price, something that we can afford here without having to buy them from South Korea or Canada or wherever.
Right, we're paying marked up prices to do that, whether it's through tariff or just the seller markup, or we're paying higher prices anyways.
Yeah, yeah, and and one of the things that I was thinking about today as well too. Okay, Sky Rover. That's a good thing that we saw that, and that's a good thing that they've come out with something like this. And you probably want to watch that video that somebody dropped in the link, and Michael Wright talked about it as well too, to look at the comparison. It may be a good drone for you. Okay, and something like that, they're probably not going to touch. All right. And I know
let me stop you right there. Though, if you buy that, don't buy the single battery. Buy the Flymore combo, because Bill, you learned with that little drone you had, the batteries sometimes are available, sometimes they're not. You better get your batteries right up front and not rely on getting them down the road, because
immediately. And
Sky Rover could be like some of these other DJI. What do they call that? Licensing companies. Sky Rover may not be around in 6 months.
Exactly. Okay. So you would probably want to make sure that you have enough batteries for something like that. And the same thing right now, it's impossible to find any of the Spectre drones right now, the Air or the Mini. They've been out. I keep hearing from my contacts at Spectre that they're expecting more in stock any day now, but nothing has come out on Amazon. That's their only point of sale as far as that's concerned. But I'm lucky. I have 4 batteries for my Spectre Mini, and I have 3 batteries for my Spectre Air. So, and it's nice that the Air 3S charger works on the Spectre Air as well too. So that's a good thing. So I have that as far as that's concerned. And I know many of you commented, and I want to take a moment to talk about it. I have my Mavic 3 Pro listed for sale out there. Okay. And I've posted it in all the groups, and I'm going to hold off on getting it to eBay because I don't feel like getting a real slice of that being cut. And it's at a very decent, very reasonable price. Now, I went out to eBay, all right, for a Mavic 3 Pro, all right, with the type of equipment I have. I don't have a Flymore combo, but I'm giving, there's 3 batteries. I have a Lycus case that is going with it right now. What's real interesting is used Mavic 3 Pros right now, Ron, are starting at $4,000 and up on eBay, and they're selling for that. All right. And that's kind of crazy. So if you're looking for a good deal, I'm selling mine for $2,500. I know this is a shameless plug here, but it is a good deal. And for me, and somebody asked me why I'm selling it. It's pure and simple. Here's the bottom line: my Air 3S does everything I want from a drone. Okay,
Right.
Don't get me wrong.
Even though it doesn't have the camera quality that the Mavic 3 Pro has. In every other sense, it's a more modern drone and has more features.
Exactly. And that's why I made that decision. And, you know, and I'm going to buy some more. When I get that money, one of the things I'm going to do, I'm going to buy a couple more batteries for it. All
Yeah.
right. And I'm
Yeah.
going to keep them in the rotation, keep them charged, that kind of thing as well, too. So, you know, and if you're interested in it, email me at Bill the Drone Reviewer. Don't message me. I'm not going to respond to messages, but email me. You know, I'll take good care of you as far as that's concerned. So, and you know, I take good care of my drones. Any of you who have purchased them off of me before, you know, I take exceptional care of them. So, all right, moving on here. Just, you know, kind of and to kind of wrap things up as far as all this is concerned. All right, you know, the reality is that a U.S. drone manufacturer being able to go out there and produce quality drones is at least 4 to 5 years away. Not like that's where I'm going to part ways with Russ. You know, he says 1 to 2 years. It's not going to happen. It's going to be at least 4 to 5 years before we see something like that. Okay, even if they get all the money and, you know, somebody gives them land to build on and all that kind of good stuff, you know, it's just not there. They don't have all that tech ready. Okay, they need to, and they need to get the people to do this as well too. All right, and that's another concern, is being able to come up and do a lot of this from scratch and building these components here in the United States. And I think that's probably key as far as that's concerned. And do me a favor, get out there, Drone Advocacy Alliance, use that link, get out there, fill out those 2 forms that I told you. Also, the Section 232 comment section, get out there and comment on that. It's going to make a difference. Make sure that you do that, all right? Because the more with the ground we gain, the better. And I'm going to close with this, all right? Last week, you guys know I have a ham radio channel, Ham Radio Basics. And what I did on there was I spent time and I talked about, and those of you, and I know Waypoint New England, you come on my show on Wednesdays too, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. There's an organization called the ARRL, and it's called the American Radio Relay League. All right, and basically what they are is they're like an NRA for ham radio enthusiasts. And one of the jobs that they do exceedingly abundantly well is this. Okay, one of the things that really needs protected if you're a ham radio enthusiast is the bands and availability of the bands. Because what the FCC is licensed to and can sell bands, all right, airspace, all right, and what these are. And what they do is the ARRL is defending what we have. For example, I'll give you a real short primer here, okay? You know, there's a 10-meter band, there's a 40-meter band, and there's other ones too. And it protects these, okay? Because some of those borderline on like the 5G LTE bands that are used by cell phone carriers, all right? And they scream for getting more bandwidth, the cell phone carriers and other ones. And you know what? The FCC has said no. And they continue to do so because we have an advocate for us as ham radio enthusiasts, the ARRL. And that's why I'm hoping something like the Drone Advocacy Alliance can gain some ground, can gain some traction, can gain a foothold. And, you know, I would gladly pay $50 a year for a membership or something like that if they could be a lobbyist for us before Congress. Ron, we really don't have that right now. And that's what was my point was on my show last week was drones don't have that advocate that we do like with ARRL. We don't have that. And that's something I think that's a lesson learned for all of us, is something that we should have done. And maybe going forward, if we can get the ship leveled and to a certain point, get out there and start something like this. And maybe maybe I can get Vic Moss on sometime and we can talk about something like this, because I think it's real important that we have some kind of agency represent us out there.
Well said.
And Waypoint,
Bill,
thank you.
I probably missed at the beginning of the show, but at the beginning of the show, did you talk about the Insta360 drones?
Yes. Yes, I
Okay.
did. Right at the very beginning, we talked about
Yeah,
that as well,
I
too.
actually find them more interesting than I do the Sky Rover because they don't look like they're cloning something else. They look like they're new technology. But here's the question, Bill: do you think Insta360 will be able to get those drones released in the U.S. before the Chinese drone ban happens on the 23rd?
Wow. I don't know. I don't know. That's a real good Real good question, Ron. A real good
Because
question.
I thought when Igor posted stuff 2 days ago, I thought we'll never see this again. It's just rumor. But then he came back with even more information today. So now I'm believing this is something that's really going to happen and maybe happen this year.
I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. And, you know, and my whole take on it is this, and this is kind of what I want to wrap things up with. Okay. Number one, still go out there and buy batteries and props. Okay. Don't hesitate to do something like that. And if you can find and want to get a backup drone for, you know, if you have the money to get an Air 3S backup locally and not get, you know, get it at a normal price, do it. And same like with like a Mini 4 Pro or a Mini 4K, you know, those kind of things. Neo and Flip, have at it if you want to, but I'm thinking about drones that you'll be able to use. All right. Mavic 3 Pros are very hard to find right now. I mean, I'm just going to say it like it is. Okay. And getting them at anywhere near retail is almost next to impossible. So that's why, you know, shameless plug, you know, that's why mine is an exceptional deal. Mavic 4 Pro, don't even think about it. I wouldn't give it a second thought.
Well,
The Mini
Bill, I
4,
would, but you said people are paying 4,000 for a Mavic 3 Pro. Well, if I was going to pay 4,000, I would just order a Mavic 4 Pro from Korea because I'm going to have the same amount of support and care on the Mavic 4 as I had in the Mavic 3 Pro going forwards.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
As
exactly
long as you
right, Ron.
order that the Flymore where you get the three the three batteries. If I was paying $4,000, I would get the Mavic 4 Pro over a Mavic 3 Pro. I'd just pay more.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And like I said, prices are ridiculous, like on places like eBay or, you know, so and now I did see out there, and we had something in the chat about 2669 for a Mavic 4 Pro, but that was just with the drone, the controller, and one
One
battery,
battery.
and that was it. And
And
that was it. And it
that's the
was
base controller too. That's not
and that was
that
the base
Pro
controller.
controller
That
everybody
wasn't
wants.
the RC Pro
Yeah.
2, and that was through Newegg. And I know, you know, I haven't used Newegg in a while. I know Marcus had made that comment as well too. And you know, so I can't vouch for that at all. But if that's something you're interested in, feel free to go up and go out and look that up. So, you know, at this point, as far as like a Mavic 4 Pro is concerned, don't worry about it right now because the drones that you have will do everything as well as, or maybe even better than that. Yeah, the RC Pro 2, that's a nice thing to be able to have something like that, but it's not necessary for you to do
Yeah.
what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know, just that's my advice. You got any 2 cents
Bill,
to add to
I'll
this
give
one?
Bill. I'm going to give you my take here. I haven't. Well, I did buy a drone this year. I bought that little V-Copter Mini. I haven't got yet. But Bill, I haven't really got a new drone this year, and I don't miss it at all. I'm flying this summer. I was flying the Avata 2 this morning. I flew the Air 2S today. It's not like I'm still flying. I'm not missing out on anything by not having any new drones this year. It doesn't. You think it's a big deal until you're actually here. It's not a big deal at all. I'm doing just fine without having any of the latest drones from DJI.
There you are. You heard it from Ron. I mean, it's, you know, and I'm the same way. I would I like to have Mavic 4 Pro? Sure. Am I going to get one? No, I'm not going to get one because I don't need it. Okay. Like I said, and we talked about earlier, my Air 3S does everything that I want it to do. Okay.
Bill,
And it's,
the Air 3S may be the best like kind of consumer drone. I mean, pound for pound, price for price that we've ever seen.
I agree, Ron. I agree 100% with that. And if I can find one at a decent price, I may end up getting a second one because I like it so
Right.
much and
Then
have it
you
as a
would have a
backup.
backup, and you'd have have a whole bunch of batteries for them and whatever. And
Yeah,
that
I've
could go
already got
through.
like
That could
4
take you for
batteries here.
years.
So
Yeah, I could take
yeah,
you for years.
yeah, yeah. I'm strongly considering that, and I'd still be ahead from the money I would make off the Mavic 3 Pro. So
Yeah,
that's where we're
yeah.
at. Question of the day: what did you think of DJI status in the USA, July 22nd, 2025? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's a great day to fly.